Marie first crossed paths with a man named Tony while investigating troubling claims about a self-styled mental health campaigner known as Decker. Decker had built a following on social media, presenting himself as a champion for those battling mental illness. But behind the inspirational posts, serious allegations of exploitation were beginning to circulate. At first, Tony appeared to be one of Decker's loudest supporters. He later claimed that he broke ties only after learning the allegations might be true. Tony and his associate Paul went on to raise thousands of pounds through online fundraising to finance a documentary intended to expose Decker's alleged wrongdoing. Yet, as filming began, voices from Tony's own past surfaced. How can a man like that be trusted around vulnerable women and children? One source asked. The documentary was never completed. Instead, the spotlight shifted. The investigators themselves became the subject of questions, and the careful facade Tony had maintained began to unravel. In the video you're about to see, a woman named Marie is briefly mentioned. The footage dates back to the period when Tony and Paul were claiming to produce a hard-hitting documentary. The film was never finished, the funds never returned. At the time, Marie had no idea what she would later discover through a Sarah's Law disclosure. What stands out now is Paul's unusually sharp defense of Tony. Instead of urging his friend to publicly clear his name, Paul deflects every allegation, stating only, "Tony has no contact with victims." It's a striking choice of words. If Tony were truly beyond suspicion, why reach so quickly for a denial so specific?
Here's the narrative, guys.
Paul Taylor Cook, yeah, I know exactly what you mean there. There is all groups of little YouTubers, and they all make their own little stories up and try and fucking put it out. It's a load of bullshit, mate. It's just ignored a lot of them. They're all weirdos. Craig Branny. Okay, he's not on Instagram.
Facebook.
How can he contact us?
Facebook.
If you add Anthony Facebook, there's two. He's got two profiles. So just add both and message them both, because we're not sure which one's the right one. I've got all mine locked down on Facebook. I can't add anyone because obviously this is my documentary, so I've got to make sure that, you know, I'm going to be the one showing my paperwork. You know, all the content in the documentary is my responsibility. It's not Tony. Tony's just helping with it.
It was, at best, a puzzling choice of words. Tony and Paul claimed they were making a documentary about abuse allegations, yet, when questions arose about Tony himself, Paul's instinct was not to demand transparency, but to shield his friend. Tony has no contact with victims, he said firmly. Why draw that line so precisely if there was nothing to hide? If Tony were truly beyond reproach, why not urge him to clear his name? These rumours didn't materialise out of thin air. Around the same time, a recording surfaced. Decker's voice, calm but cutting. "Hold on, Tony. You were arrested twice on charges like these." Tony's reply landed like a stone in still water. "Yes, but women lie." The promised documentary never appeared. The funds were never returned. And the questions left behind only grew louder.
So, yeah, I've got to be dead careful with my contact details. But, yeah, if you add Tony, Tony will give you Tony will put me in touch with you, and then I can, get the information.
And look at them.
And then came the strangest twist. Paul invited anyone who believed they'd been harmed by Decker to contact Tony directly. Think about that. If the whispers surrounding Tony were even half true, wasn't Paul sending these women straight from the frying pan into the fire? He claimed to be making a documentary to expose wrongdoing. Yet the very person collecting the testimonies carried even darker rumours than the man they sought to expose. It was a move that left many wondering whether the project was ever about protecting victims at all.
Do a live after we've been doing all our interviews and stuff, and that's, by the way, before anybody starts saying, I want to see Tony's paperwork and this, that and the other. Tony doesn't speak to any of the witnesses.
And I'm on lime and lemon.
Yeah.
Not cocaine.
Tony doesn't do any of the interviews or anything like that. It's me. It's purely me. I speak to the witnesses, and we've actually got another woman. We've got a woman on our team who, if it's someone vulnerable who's, even concerned about speaking with men, we've got a woman who's doing the interview for us in them situations as well. So.
And now the story takes a darker turn. The woman who conducted those early interviews, Marie, has since found herself drawn into court proceedings. It wasn't because she sought the spotlight, but because of what she uncovered. As whispers about Tony grew louder, Marie began to piece together evidence. Alarmed, she did what any parent would do. She gathered her proof and moved to safeguard her family. What she learned next was worse than anything she could have imagined. This was no longer just a question of an unfinished documentary or misused funds. It had become a matter of protection, of lives forever altered by secrets no one wanted exposed.
A documentary about the Dickie Hickey, the whole situation. So there's been more alleged victims have come forward about things that have happened over the years.
More and more.
So
let's be clear. Paul himself faces no allegations, and no one suggests he ever harmed a child. Yet his decisions had consequences. By allowing Tony to gain access to alleged victims, whether knowingly or not, he put those people in a vulnerable position. The very person who was meant to be exposing wrongdoing became part of the danger itself. For Marie, the woman conducting interviews and protecting her own family, the reality became frighteningly clear. Sometimes, those you trust to shine a light can inadvertently open the door to shadows.